Good morning, Michelle.
I got that from Wayne's World. Do you remember
Yeah,
that movie?
Wayne's World. Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't forget nothing.
right.
Anyway, I'm so excited to find out what you're going to tell me about. Carry
I'm
on.
going to tell you about Rh negative blood.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it might end up being two parts because I ran into some really new interesting stuff. But anyway,
Okay, so
um,
potentially
yeah,
part one.
part one. So I don't know. Okay, so where do I start? So Rh negative blood
Mm-hmm.
means that red blood cells carry a protein, and that protein is related to a monkey called the rhesus macaque. So most people are positive, Rh
Yeah,
positive. So that means
yeah.
that you carry the gene of this, you carry the protein, the gene of this rhesus macaque. And Rh negative means that you don't. Right. So that's the difference between Rh negative and Rh positive. So
Is there any link to any proteins in the negative to something?
there are no links to anything on this planet. Nothing.
Okay.
Not a plant, not an animal, nothing. It's a huge
Wow.
mystery and has been. And it's fascinating, yeah.
Mm.
There's a few things about it that are, well, everything about it's fascinating, but I'm going to tell you a couple things. So obviously O negative is
Mm.
the universal donor.
Yes.
And I'm going to probably say we a lot because I have O negative blood. So yeah, so basically most scientists and, well, everybody thinks that we're part alien. Anyway, so we're the universal donor, cannot receive blood from any other group.
Mm.
It will kill us. That's why when you go into hospitals, they always have O neg. That's why people donate, because if they don't know your blood type, you have to get O neg, because otherwise it can kill you.
Yeah.
It can kill you only if you're an Rh negative. Anyway, so also, which is really, really fascinating, is that without medical intervention, we cannot we cannot carry a child that isn't Rh negative. We cannot carry an Rh positive child. Like our body will literally try to fight it off like it's a disease. Like we cannot carry our own offspring without
Mm.
medical intervention. Nuts. We can if
That
it's
is weird.
O negative. Yeah.
It is really weird, isn't it? So did you
Right?
have to get your babies tested, like their blood type before, or do they just give you the
Well, they give
treatment?
you they type and screen you, and then they follow you. And then it'll
Mm.
show if your body's building up cells to fight off the fetus. So your first child is always fine for some reason. I don't know that reason, but your first is always okay. It's the consecutive after. So what
Mm.
they do is they give you a shot right after you have the baby. Literally, they're putting a shot in your hip, like literally when the baby's out, and that's to protect the next consecutive babies. Although
Mm.
that didn't happen with my son. My son was second, and I had developed antibodies, and so I had to go in and I had to get a part of someone else's blood, which really pissed me off and grossed me out. But anyway, called gamma globulins.
Yeah.
But I actually had to go in and receive this because my body was actively fighting my son off, and he was my
Mm.
second. That's really interesting, and at the end it's going to get way more interesting, but I need to say that only 15%, when I started looking at this, it was 7%, but now it's 15% of the whole world's population has this. Only 15% of the whole entire world has O negative, or Rh negative, because there
So
is a negative.
it's RH negative, not just
It's,
O.
yeah, not just the O. The O is the universal donor, but it's the
Yeah.
Rh factor that we're really talking about. So, there
So
is a
it's interesting. It's almost like you're a different species if you can't mate with positive people.
right? And
Yeah.
what would the reason for that be? I
Right.
have an interesting insight into that. in a bit
And I
here.
can carry a negative kid,
Of
right?
course you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my mother's positive, and she
Mm.
had me. My grandmother was O negative, so it skipped and I got
Yeah,
it.
it's really
So
weird how that happens.
it is. It won't mutate. It hasn't mutated. Like, it's not something that's mutated. We don't know if it's mutated in the first place. It doesn't seem like it because this goes way back. Mesopotamia. That's a hard word. Okay. There is a part of the world where the concentration of Rh negative is the highest, and that is
Mm.
the Basque region. So the Basque region is in between France and Spain. It's the Strait of Gibraltar. It's right in there.
Yeah.
Here's yeah. The highest concentration is there. They literally 40% of their population is Rh negative, which is really, really interesting
Mm.
because not only that, they're a very unique tribe of people. They have their own language that has been baffling linguists for decades and decades. It's got nothing. It's right there smack dab in the middle of Europe. It's got nothing to do with European language like whatsoever. It's
Mm.
crazy. It's like Mi'kmaq. It's a lot like that. It's very, very unique. There's nothing European about it. They themselves, and here's another interesting little tidbit, because there is, I know there were a lot of people on YouTube saying that there was an sunken city of Atlantis, because I know we talked about, no, sunken just Atlantis, because we had talked about the city of Atlantis being in the eye of the Sahara, which I
Mm.
still believe, but Atlantis had multiple spots, right? Apparently. Actually, one of those spots is right off the Strait of Gibraltar. So that was
Mm.
really neat. Because yeah, I saw a whole video on the Basque people and how they believe they come from Atlanteans. So that's going to be a whole nother video too. Holy crap. This factor didn't exist in the Americas. It didn't exist in Asia or Africa, only Europe. Really crazy. So you would think that this would come from Africa. You would think that Africans would have this, and no, they don't. I just want to mention too, there are some definitely scientifically proven physical traits of people that have this blood type, which is really interesting. The lower than normal blood pressure and
Mm.
heart rate. And I'll have to say this. I went to the doctor last week. It's a new to me doctor. I don't have a family doctor, so I see this one in Tatumbush. Anyway, so the nurse comes and she does my vitals, and she's like, oh my, your pulse is awfully low. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. Anyway, my blood pressure was perfect, but my pulse was really low, and it alarmed her. And so the doctor came in, and we talked about it, and it wasn't low enough to be too terribly concerned, but it was just
Mm.
proof. It was just proof. So O negative people have lower than normal blood pressure, pulse. An extra vertebrae in their back and their spine is a possibility, not a definite for everyone, and an extra rib bone. And that's going to I found something this morning so interesting about that. But I'll have to say again, when I had an epidural during delivery, they had a terrible time getting it into my spine. They said I had a severely curved spine. I'm thinking extra vertebrae in my back. Nobody's ever proved that. They said I had spina bifida when I was born, and that I wouldn't be walking in my 20s. Okay.
I remember that from years ago when you said you
So
had that.
I don't
But
believe I have that. I believe it's just an extra vertebrae. Yeah.
yeah,
So that was
you
all
should go see
really,
a chiropractor and see what they say about it, because
yeah,
they map
exactly.
everything, right?
Because I
Mm.
tried to get my doctor to do a scan or an x-ray or anything, and she didn't see the sense in it. She felt down my spine and said it felt fine. But I mean, she wouldn't feel that, right? But yeah, the
Yeah,
spina
you'd have
bifida,
to like the things they print out at the chiropractors, like every single one. So that would be
that's what I
interesting.
need. So yeah, and then I have a friend that I spoke to actually just the other day, and she's waiting for this podcast. And she's one of our biggest fans. Anyway, she's also Rh negative. Hey,
Yeah,
Daryl.
yeah, yeah.
Shout out to Daryl. She was telling me about the fact that she was going to an osteopath, and the osteopath said there was something abnormal about her rib cage, and the osteopath was working on her rib cage, because we were talking about osteopaths, and I was saying how much my hubby loved to go and how much it helped him, and etc. And she's like, I didn't like it at all. She hurt me. I'm like, hurt you? What the? So anyway, she was trying to put her ribs back in position or whatever, and it would hurt her, and so she stopped going. Maybe she's got an extra rib.
Yeah, so
I
does that
mean,
mean extra on both sides?
it doesn't mean extra on both sides. It could be on one side, it could be the other side. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, it was really interesting, and
I can't believe modern science hasn't figured this out yet. But anyway, go on.
unless they have, and they're not
Yeah.
telling us, right? So they have other characteristics that, well, I don't have it, but striking blue eyes, and you'll see this in brown people, black people, white people. Striking blue eyes, that's another characteristic, and a higher IQ. So all that information, I went and I just chose a link because I've been looking at this for so long. So Ancient Aliens was the one that I found the best, and we'll put all the links in later, obviously, right? Scientists literally have no idea where we came from. It's basically believed that we have evolved from a different species on this planet that no longer exists on this planet that we can compare it to, or that we've been genetically altered on purpose by something not of this planet. There's a few things biblically. I'm going to mention the book of Enoch. So you know of it because it didn't make it into the Christian Bible.
The Gnostic, is it a Gnostic gospel?
Well, they talk about a lot of this stuff, and I think that's why it didn't make it.
Yeah, so many cool things didn't make it in. I love it. Anyway, go
And
on.
we weren't taught this stuff. I know. I can't wait to actually get into the book of Enoch because there's like, on this podcast, not right now, but just because like some of the things that it was listing, so, basically it's saying that we're descendants of the Nephilim or Nephilim, however you want to say it. I say Nephilim. So the giants or the fallen angels. So there's two things. So there's descendants of the Nephilim. That comes from the book of Enoch. But just let me mention one thing, because they were saying that the fallen angels were teaching the women how to wear makeup, right? So they would grind down. So I know in Egypt they would grind down it's my favorite stone. It's blue.
Lapis?
Lapis lazuli. And yeah, and that's when you see Egyptians with the eye makeup and it's blue and all that. That's, yeah. One of the things was that they had taught women to wear makeup. There's a whole list of things. I'm not going to get into all that. And then there's the Anunnaki. So there's two different sort of ideas there. The Anunnaki, and it's really funny. When I read it, it said that they had taken genetic from their ribs to help create us. Us being, so they needed humans that were a little bit smarter, but they needed human strength, and they needed it they needed us for work. Is basically why they're saying that they created us, because apparently they were here mining gold. And I've heard that a lot with the extraterrestrials and the stories that they were here mining gold. So they would have us hybrid that was strong enough and smart enough to do the mining. And then how there's our atmosphere, it's like this over the earth. I even seen that they created that shield in order to help heal their own planet, because we're doing so much bullshit here, nukes and all this stuff, and it's affecting them, and it was. And yeah, they built this shield to protect themselves over top of us. It's the only get of blood in the fetus. The reason why we can't. So like, if we were able to carry this fetus, well, we are, right? It's going to dull out the bloodline, isn't it, eventually? If we were able to carry that fetus, right? Do you know what I'm saying?
So it's like a evolutionary tactic to
A tactic for sure, yeah,
yeah
in order to
yeah.
protect that bloodline, like a genetic firewall.
Mm.
Um, but
Is that
why?
O negative? Because you said O negative, or is that RH negative?
RH negative. I keep saying O
Okay,
negative.
okay. I just want
RH
to make sure.
negative.
That's
Yeah,
all negatives. All
yeah.
negatives.
A lot of people are asking what it's designed for. So what if they knew a lot more than what we know then?
Mm.
What if they knew a whole lot more? And what if not only are they protecting this bloodline, but for reasons like, say, to survive a pandemic or biological threat? Because one more thing I didn't mention, Michelle, is that it's documented and it's proven that people with Rh negative blood are immune to HIV and malaria. So, what if we were engineered in order to carry on life? You know, like I said, once a huge pandemic or biological threat happens, like that's blowing my freaking mind. It's blowing my mind that we're likely not to be able to contract diseases like HIV or malaria. And then that gets, you know what that got me thinking about? Is HIV man made?
Oh.
That's what that got me thinking, you know? So it's a known fact too that Rh negative people are already being watched, tracked, government databases, abductees. That's a possibility. It's very, very, there's always a special focus on that. Like, what if the powers that be are already, they already know, they're already watching, and it's a little bit creepy. I don't know if I want to even admit in public that I have Rh negative blood. It's creepy. I feel like maybe something's going to happen that we were built to survive.
Well, I'm just looking up I wanted to see the breakdown of races with Rh negative blood, and it is overwhelmingly Caucasian.
Right.
It's like almost zero in Asia. It's very low
Yeah.
in Africa. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely mostly European. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just found it, I just couldn't believe it. And I only just came across it like minutes before like we started this to find out that it said in quotes, created humans by extracting DNA from their ribs
Mm-hmm.
and having relations with early human females. And
Mm-hmm.
this was to create the smarter, stronger work race. So it's saying that the Anunnaki came and they taught the Sumerians a whole lot of stuff. This is in Sumerian tablets. They taught them astrology, for instance, and they were here mining gold. There were two brothers. So there's this guy too. I want to mention Sitchin, scientist Sitchin. This is all the Sitchin hypothesis about the
Mm-hmm.
Anunnaki.
Okay.
But yeah, but so there's two brothers, and they made the hybrids in order to be good workers to mine the gold. The younger of the two brothers, he felt bad. He wanted them to survive, and so he created Atlantis and gave them the knowledge because they were not given them they were not given the knowledge on how to reproduce the hybrids. So the brother who felt bad designed Atlantis, put them there, gave them the knowledge on how to reproduce so that he took care of them so that they could keep going. And the other brother didn't want them to keep going for some reason, but that's a whole nother.
How did he come to this hypothesis story? Is this something he
Oh,
discovered in ancient writings or something?
yeah, in Sumerian translation, which were very hard to translate. Do you know that they actually took styluses and in wet clay just pushed and made their writings that way with a stylus pushing it into wet clay.
Like, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so this Sitchkin has been studying it and had studied it. I'm not sure if he's alive anymore, but he had studied it to great length from the
Yeah.
Sumerian tablet because the Sumerians talk about all the things that the fallen angels who came from the heavens, who lived in the heavens, because apparently they would go back and forth. Isn't that interesting? That's all they know. They came from the
Yeah,
house.
it is. And I mean,
But,
I studied archaeology like a long, long time ago in
oh
school.
yeah.
But I know that there's cave drawings or something that look like spacecraft
Oh my God, everywhere.
or batteries or something. Like, yeah, there was stuff carved on cave walls. Yeah.
It was actually the Egyptians who told the story of the Atlanteans to Plato.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were the ones that actually knew about it. Like, so how interesting to think, and how actually creepy to think that maybe we were created this way. So once there's another great reset,
Hmm.
there's going to be, like, say it was a pandemic, there's going to be survivors, Rh negatives, like especially from HIV or malaria or God knows what else. We just don't know yet. And I used to actually be paranoid years ago, and that's why I didn't want to donate blood, was because I'm going, well, if I'm being watched, there's only 15% of us. They don't know why, and it's a tad creepy. Like,
Hmm.
and I do believe we're watched, and I know that we're studied an awful lot. So what do you think?
Interesting. Provocative.
Provocative. But
Yeah.
yeah, I urge anybody who's interested in this or who hasn't gone that far to definitely look at the Book of Enoch. It's really, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that my body tried to fight my child off. Like, that's my offspring. That's just,
Yeah, it's like a completely foreign
it's like we're not allowed to
invader.
do that.
It's like a
Yeah.
virus.
So they
Yeah.
don't, someone,
But it's so
whoever,
funny it doesn't do that with the first one.
mm,
Well, I guess it's
you're
like
allowed.
the first time you have a virus, your body then creates the antibody. So you
That,
have this virus, your first child, and then after that, your body creates the antibody, so your second child gets it.
it's like they don't want us populating the earth with any more positives. It's freaky. I wonder what the purpose could be. And I have a feeling they know. And I even started thinking that alien abductions, they're not alien abductions. I think that they're government abductions. I would bet, and I'm going to go further, of course, with this and do a part two, but I would bet that a lot of people that have been abducted
Hmm.
by alien actually are Rh negative, I betcha, because they're
That would be
watching.
interesting to look into.
Yeah, because everything you see, they're watching us, they're testing us, but for what? And that's a little bit creepy.
I'm just looking stuff up, random things that you've told me, because I like to dig a little deeper while we're on.
Yeah, let's dig deeper. Yeah, so I mean, it could be extraterrestrials, it could be ancient civilizations before us.
So it basically says the Basque people are the last of Neolithic cultures that have retained their culture, identity, and language without being assimilated or annihilated by later Europeans like Romans and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
they're still like have their Neolithic language and all
yeah, it's amazing. It's
that.
actually amazing. It's like no other.
But it
Um,
says their closest DNA relative is Welsh.
really?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting. The Spanish word for the country of Wales is Gallus, which means Gaul,
mm-hmm.
and the Spanish province of Galicia literally means Welsh. So that's
Hmm.
interesting. Basically, like Neolithic Celts.
Yeah.
They're
Huh.
basically Neolithic Celts, yeah, late Bronze Age people. See, that's
Okay.
interesting. And then, of
It's
course, there was a massive Muslim invasion in Spain.
right.
That was after the Romans. So, yeah, everything just got mixed up, but they somehow were protected and retained their DNA and their culture and their language and everything. Like the entire western part of the continent is Romance languages. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I actually just caught, I skimmed it, but something that said people with Rh negative blood are more prone to lung issues.
Really?
Specifically, there was a high rate of Rh negative people with this specific lung cancer. Like it was way higher than the normal general population. People with they were studying these people with cancer, and they had a really high population of Rh negative people with this cancer. Anyway, I skimmed that, but
That's an interesting thing. That's really actually crazy because it would make sense because if it's ETs that have done this, maybe breathing this air, maybe they didn't see it out well enough, right? But maybe
well,
breathing air
exactly.
on Earth
Maybe you're.
isn't good. Yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
that's
how far along have we evolved physically anyway? I said this like decades ago
mm,
about back pain. We're probably still having so much back pain because we're not completely evolved to be upright yet. Like, who knows? Maybe we haven't
possible.
sorted that out, like evolutionary wise. Yes,
Yeah, that's right.
like it.
Yeah,
That shit takes a long time.
a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I have lots of back pain, but I don't know if it's because of, the structure of it. I've been trying for so long to prove
Well,
that.
isn't spina bifida when you have the opening, or what is that? Am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, spina bifida is when you're missing a vertebrae and it's
Mm.
open,
It's
isn't it?
open, right?
I think. I just never believed I have it, so I don't really know. I think it's an opening. And then I
And
think
yeah,
you
it's
can
an
have a,
incomplete closing of the spine.
yes.
Incomplete closing of the spine and membranes around the spinal cord. But there's different types. You
No,
can have a little hairy patch, a dimple, a dark spot, swelling on the lower back. Like you don't always have to have that big. Sometimes it's wide open and you can, like when they're born.
well,
Interesting.
yeah, and they said I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was in my 20s. And Mom told me that the doctor got very upset with her when she put me in gymnastics and things like that. And
I've seen you dance.
you've seen me dance a lot. Jesus, we killed the dance floor. Oh my God. Remember, you could bring your drink and your smoke?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Can you believe we come from a day that could happen? Holy
It
fuck.
seems so weird now, yeah.
How did people not get their eyeballs burned out? Like, I don't understand how we got away with that and didn't hurt anybody.
I know.
Honest to
I
God.
know. And we, like, in our day, the dance floor was packed early. Like now there's nobody at the bars till midnight or later. But
I
it
don't
was
even go to them.
packed. Like people
Yeah,
were
Pat.
banging into you. You were getting in fights with people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, downtown was
And
bad. Yeah.
people were smoking, drinking. I mean, I've been to a lot of places where they'd say, you're not allowed to have your drink on the dance floor.
Yeah.
I did not put my drink down.
We didn't put the drink down. No,
My
that's
father
dangerous
always
too.
told me, don't put your drink down.
That's right. So there's different ideas about where we came from, but nobody really knows. It's a huge mystery, and it's been a mystery for a very long time.
It is because any other mutation they can find, like they can find where blue eyes eventually mutated from brown eyes and stuff like that.
And over all this time, it has not mutated. It's not happening. I love
It's
how it
definitely
ties
a
in.
different species,
For
like
sure.
Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I mean,
love
there's
how it
there's no
ties into.
question. There's no question. There was probably Homo sapiens, and there was Neanderthals, and some other species, whether from the planet or another planet. There clearly was more than one. I mean, we know there was more than one.
All I know is I read something that said it was before Homo erectus, and they
Mm-hmm.
say that this is the reason why we became Homo erectus. Yeah, and it was for basically created to be slaves, to mine the gold. But I mean, demigods or fallen angels, they're not coming down here to mine gold.
Well,
It has to be ETs. Like, come on. And I've heard about, God,
well,
it
yeah,
was just
that's what I
last
mean.
week.
Like they would use precious metals and stuff like that for because they were more advanced, obviously, if they're traverse on the universe.
It just seems to always be about gold, and when there's anything extraterrestrial, it's always in a place that has, gold, and very interested in the gold.
Mm.
Just aside from the childbirthing, not being able to carry a positive fetus, the fact that we can't get blood from anyone else, or it'll kill us. You can't give me blood, it'll kill me. That's nuts. When I watched a documentary about the Basque people, this was a little blurb. It's very little, but it was a little blurb that the Basque people believe that they come from Atlanteans. And I guess they could have gotten that from the Bible story.
Talking about different species of humans, Neanderthal DNA shows up mostly in India, in Indian DNA, but also compared to somewhere other places in Asia like China, where they have less than 1% of Rh negative blood.
Yeah.
India is like 6 or 7%.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, India's for Asia, because Asia's almost zero.
Yeah.
So India seems to have a lot of these markers of
Yeah.
different species
Actually,
of humans.
you're right. Yeah, I did see that. It was India, and it was mostly the Basque people in India, because it was not Asia, not Africa. And that blows my mind, because isn't it the oldest bones ever found were from Africa? And
Oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure. But it
yeah,
seems to be It seems to me to be Celtic people.
it is like
Yeah.
this protein is, everybody else has this protein of the macaque, the rhesus macaque. So what's the purpose? There has to be some sort of purpose, unless just that species was wiped out by the flood. But in the Bible, it says that there were giants found after the flood. So it doesn't seem like it was that. It doesn't seem like it evolved. It doesn't seem like it just, yeah. It, I
Well,
think
the
genetically
Bible
altered.
also says something along the lines of, "I have." Bible
I
also
have a
says
cat.
something along. You're such an ass, asshole.
Assholius.
Yeah, come on. Anyway, the Bible also says something along the lines of, "I have sheep in other folds." So while these sky people are over here fooling with the Celts, there's some of their other people are over there in India fooling with taking them away because it's in their oral history that
Well,
spaceships came and took their people.
I think they were obviously taken for testing, because they were positive. Maybe because when is this? When is this that you're talking about? When's that said? When was that said?
The Indian thing?
Yeah.
Well, let me look it up in an actual journal and not the news.
Yeah. And I just want to say too, where we think the Eye of the Sahara, where a lot of people think the Eye of the Sahara is, or the Rishat structure
Mm.
is the ancient city of Atlantis. It's there are people called the Berbers, and they're at the foothills of the Atlas Mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a concentration of the O negative blood as well. But of course, they're very close to the Basque people. Then there's the Atlas Mountains, the word Atlantis. It's just all ties in. I just really love how it goes into that. I can't wait to get into Atlantis.
You're such an ass. He's got these. He's got a little calendar. It's a date calendar, and it's got cubes in it with the date on it, right? Anyway, he just threw it all on the floor. He also
Ooh.
he also destroyed my rosary.
Well, I think he's a well. I
Demon.
think he's a demon cat. No, I think he's a familiar.
Mm.
You know, a
Listen,
pagan
I've
Mina.
never seen a stray cat not be timid at all. I got out of the car. He was meowing at me before he could even see me. He was on the other side of the wall. I had to jump up on the wall and look down. And he was like, meow, 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 trying to come and get me. And I ran around the other side of the wall, and he ran toward me. She's a she. And
I was gonna say, yeah, is he a he? Okay, he's a
he.
she.
So we were very, very close, but then I had to go away. Like, we were so close. She was sleeping, like, on my face. Like, I'd have to move her. And she'd keep her little paw on my face when she went to sleep at night.
Oh,
But I was only here 5 fucking days, and I come back, and she's Terry's cat.
the cat chooses the owner. There's not much you can do about it.
Well, I said, well, you're the alpha cat. I said, I've never lived in a house where I'm not the alpha cat.
Paper did the same thing.
You stole my cat, man. I said, basically, the
Well,
cat looks at you like the mom-dad cat, and I'm just like a sibling.
yeah, that's what I am to Caper. Like, Caper comes up behind me and shoves me. Okay, he comes up behind me and like that and shoves me. Like he shoved me across the kitchen yesterday. Like, play with me, play with me. But literally
Yeah,
comes up behind me and like pushes me. But it's funny because Bernie was the one away and I was the one home with Caper. And then when he came back home, he was still the alpha. It just blows my mind. I
yeah.
don't
So
know.
even if I sent him away for 3 weeks, I'm sure it wouldn't make any difference. But it was such bad timing. Like, I only was here for. Anyway,
It's
I'm brokenhearted. I liked being the
it's
Klingon.
bittersweet though. You got the gift. Maybe you should explain how you got the cat. I think people should know because it's very, very cool. So let's just give a little brief on that.
What, that it arrived the day my father died? The cat arrived the day my father died, an hour before I found out. So very, very close to time of his death.
And you had been looking for a cat for weeks and weeks. And
Actually, we
this
were supposed to
lady,
go that very Saturday. It was a Saturday. We were supposed to go visit a foster cat to adopt, which was like 2 hours away. We were going to drive and adopt this cat. But then she called and said that the cat wasn't feeling well and she wanted to get more tests or take it to the vet or something. So she canceled. So we didn't get a cat that day.
yeah,
And yeah,
but that happened repeatedly.
yeah, it happened a couple times. Yeah. Yes,
Hmm.
because I was talking to that other woman, remember? She said, you want my cat? I said, yes. And then she said, okay, I'm going to keep the cat. And I said, okay. And then she called me back, do you want the cat? I'm going to get rid of the cat. I'm like, yes. And then she goes, I'm so sorry. My son's going to take the cat. Okay.
That alone is insane. That, like, come on. Like, we were sitting there going, this woman's nuts, right? Like, do you want the cat? Oh, no, I'm going to keep the cat. Do you want the
Yeah.
cat? Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm going to get. But it, like, so it happened over and over. You were meant to get this cat. I
Yeah,
mean,
obviously.
the odds of those things happening are just,
It's the cat distribution system.
yes.
Always works out in your favor.
So you're with
But,
the right cat, I believe. And I mean, to receive a kitten in your yard when you come home 1 hour before you find out about your dad passing is right.
magical.
It's
Yeah.
magical. So I guess unfortunately it's bittersweet in that, it's bitter because you came back and the cat has chosen hubby instead of you, I guess was the alpha. But it's
I
so
mean,
sweet.
she's still really snuggly and stuff, but
Hmm. But how amazing is that to get a gift like that, like right when you needed it?
yeah,
Just love it.
she really is. She's an absolute
Gives me
gift.
goosebumps.
But I
Yeah.
also thought, I felt close to my father doing the rosary thing, and it was his rosary, and she fucking destroyed it. Well, she didn't destroy it. I'll show you. But
Well,
I
maybe she
mean,
was just referencing. Maybe she was just like, yeah, this is who sent me. This is who sent me, Michelle.
well, she's always been really obsessed with it. I mean, look at it. It's obviously gonna. I don't know. She just loves it. So I put it back together because it was completely split. So I put it back together down there,
Oh.
but the bottom is missing. So this is in
You,
3 pieces. And I don't have good
oh.
eyes. I don't have good eyes, and I have fat ass fucking fingers. So it's been. I tried to put it together, So I put this back together, the top part, but I'll get it. I'll get it back together. Yes, I will. See,
I
she's
think
right
the
on me now
cat.
because I got it. I got it. She's in love with it.
I think she's referencing who sent her.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Who sent you?
And then isn't it funny that she's, all up in the thing that his father passed away and that's the thing he said every day and
Yeah, she also just knocked over a picture of his parents. Oh, I
who
don't
are
know what
both
her beef
hippies.
is with the ancestors. I guess we should sign off. Thank you, Caroline, for your fascinating insight into negative RH factor people. Fucking alien weirdos. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's very fascinating. It is fascinating. Are we different? Is there like different species of humans? It's fascinating, all of it. I mean, we know about Neanderthals and Homo sapiens officially, right? And yeah, that's it. But yeah, why wouldn't there be more? It's a no-brainer. And let us know what you think in the comments about all this we've discussed today. And hit the follow button, subscribe, and we'll be back next week or the week after, whenever we fucking feel like it. Okay.